Hi, everybody. Welcome. So this is going to be an exciting. So welcome to episode 2. I'm going to start episoding these to our ZBrushCentral image breakdown. This is we've got a special guest with us today. We've got Waruna Weligamage with us. So Waruna, thanks for being a part of this journey with us in these new streams we're doing.
Yeah, thanks, man. I want to first of all thank ZBrush for giving this amazing opportunity. Thank you, team. It's a great pleasure to be here with you guys.
Yeah. So this one's near and dear to my heart, as we've already had conversations about this. So, what we're breaking down. Let's show what we're breaking down today from Waruna is Alex Ross Superman. Okay, so for those that don't know, I'm a massive Superman fan, and who isn't an Alex Ross fan, right? I think you nailed it. This is just a beautiful piece. He's going to be showing you guys a lot of cool techniques that he did to accomplish this piece, and also he's 3D printing everything and hand painting them. So you can see some of the prints down here. So we are going to cover today some of this, what he's done inside of ZBrush, with obviously his end goal result being 3D printing it off and then hand painting them all. Like, I'm telling you, people, when you see it's the final version too of the paint, it's just incredible. Like, this is awesome. This is so good. I'm excited. This is going to be really, really a lot of fun. I also want to let you know, obviously, these are happening on a regular basis here on ZBrushLIVE. So we've got another one coming up. So besides today's episode with Waruna, I just want to let you know we have another one coming up on April 12th. Okay, so I'll put this in the chat. So if you guys also really enjoying what we're going to be doing today, here's the next one that's coming up. This is going to be really cool. This is an artist who actually uses ZBrush to create kind of really beautiful animation type style artistic pieces. It's pretty awesome what he's doing. So these are ongoing here. So you guys are going to want to tune in probably in this calendar. They always are going to be happening on Tuesdays. Okay. So, and what we're doing is we're taking stuff from ZBrushCentral and artists like Waruna, seeing pieces that are being posted, reaching out to those artists, and then saying, hey, let's do a stream together and let's break it down and see what we're doing. Right. So, and enough from me. I'm going to put up Waruna's screen now and take down mine so we can get into his piece. So Waruna, I'll let you take it from here, and from time to time, I'll jump in, and any questions I can throw at him, you can feel free, everybody, to throw it in the chat, and I'll find times, hopefully, where we can ask him the questions that you'd like to ask. So Waruna, thank you again for joining us, and I'll let you take it from here now.
Yeah, thanks again, Paul. This exact moment, kind of a dream for me. So thanks again, ZBrush, for having me here today for the hosting. And I want to thank everyone who's joined here today in the live stream. And thank you all for that. And my wife who's watching at home right now. Thank you for you too, because without you, it could have been hard. So those who doesn't know me, my name is Waruna Weligamage, and I'm from beautiful island nation, Sri Lanka. And I work as a senior digital sculptor for Styles Toys Limited, and also I work as a freelance sculptor for Exo6, and I had the opportunity to work with Hasbro and Gaming Heads and Quantum Mechanics and a few other companies on their some of their projects as well. So for the past 6 years, I'm working as a digital sculptor in the collectible industry. So before going into today's topic, Superman, I want to, bit of touch on my backstory, how I got into the sculpting. Back in the day, during my childhood, I had this eager to learn 3D sculpting and, do characters for, the games and stuff. But with the educational system that we have in our country and the financial background, I couldn't pursue that. So what I did was, after getting to a job and, started to learn it myself, using this amazing resource you call internet. You can find anything today. So like many of us do, I also started, trying out different softwares back then. But in 2014, I found this amazing tutorial done by Frank Singh about how to do a likeness sculpt using ZBrush. And that's where I learned that there is this great software where you can do organic sculptures. So I followed that course and I found myself, and I fell in love with the software, to say honestly. So, and I started putting out more and more character sculpt. I'm a huge fan of doing characters. So back in the day, I used to use Maya for doing, I did few stylized characters, but with ZBrush, I got so many possibilities of doing those. And what I did was whatever I did, I shared among the groups, Facebook groups, and even ZBC. And 2015, I lost my job, and I was without a job for like 1 or 2, 3 weeks, and we were kind of looking for a job to start things up. I had my wife and kid to support. So unexpectedly, I got a message from like same time, in 2016, between March, April, I got a uh, message from a CBC member asking whether I could do a likeness sculpture for an action figure. Back then, I didn't know what is an action figure, what is 3D printing is. So I was desperate to get a job because I have a family to feed. So what I told him was, I will do the sculpt, and while doing it, I will learn the process of how to, do the printing part. How to prepare a file for a printing, and he was kind of happy with the result that I gave. And I told my wife, if someone can come to you by looking at the sculpts that you have done, as a training, practicing sculpts, and if someone can come to you and offer a job, what if we, put more time to it and, start this full time? And it was a kind of a tough decision because we had our first child back then. He was 2 years old, and but she said okay, and we finally came to a decision where we have to do this for full time. And but to be honest, first few months was not that easy. It's really hard to make a name for yourself. There are a lot of great artists among the communities, but I want to thank each of collector out there who's supporting me, because without them I couldn't have make a name for myself. They embrace me, they supported in every way, so I have to thank them as well. But when you watch ZBrush summits and ZBrush live sessions, you kind of a dream, to get into this kind of session and share your own processes. So I guess I'm living in that dream today. So thank you again, guys, for giving me this opportunity. So I guess enough of that story. Paul, are they still with us?
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know.
No, yeah, you're good. No, I think it's important to understand the backstory too. And this is kind of why we want to do streams like this with artists like you, to learn a little bit more about each artist, what you're doing, and seeing the work that you have. And a lot of people got some amazing stories of how they've got into digital sculpting and then with the ZBrush. So I think what you're saying will resonate with a lot of people, I'm sure. So I think that was great.
Okay. So about the today's topic, Superman. So I wanted to tell that about why I did this project. Like I said, from 2016 onwards, I was doing these portrait sculpts for the companies where I contribute them with celebrities likenesses, sculptures. And 2020, I started on doing full statues, and none of them got released yet. Some when it comes to production, it gets delayed due to so many reasons. And so statues is something which lacks in my portfolio. If someone comes to me and asks whether you could do a statue, if I say yes, I have done, but I can't show you all because due to the NDA agreements that I have. So I wanted to challenge myself and show people that I can do statue sculpt, and they can be get produced. And since I know how to paint and now, so I want to paint and show. So this is kind of a project that I wanted to have in my portfolio, so people can come and see, okay, this guy can do statues as well. So that's the story for Superman. Why I wanted to do a statue. And I'm a huge fan of realism and comics. When it comes to realism and comics, Alex Ross name is right. It comes to mind right away, right? I think we all agree on that. So I wanted to select our Alex Ross's pieces, and I'm a huge fan of DC Comics. So I wanted to do whole lineup of Justice League. So I wanted to do his version of Superman, and that's how this came into the picture. Like when you get a project, what I would like to do is, maybe someone can say it's too much, but like those method actors do, I'd like to, get into the character. And what I did was I started reading the comic, Superman Peace on Earth. So, you can learn, and, you know, you can get into the character so well. And while referencing, I found this piece that they have done for a game in development, where you have these three turnarounds, and it shows how heroic Superman is. And it's just a simple pose, but with that impression that he has on his face, it shows that that is Superman, and he's among us, a person who's among us. And so I wanted to select that right artwork to get into my statue. And to mention, there are a lot of great artists, legendary artists, who have done their takes on this Alex Ross version of Superman. And I have to tell that their works been really inspirational for me to get this started. So when I get a project, someone asked me to do a statue. So statue sculpting is like a puzzle. And when a puzzle has to be broken down, and it has to needs, it should be get back together, put back together. So same goes to the statue sculpting. You have to find a way to, even though you see a advanced art, concept art, you can break it down to small pieces and start doing it, complete the sculpt. So here what I wanted to have is, have the portrait separate, and since his body is mostly covered with the suit, so I wanted to do the body separate, and boots and cape separate, and to have a basic, not so much going on the base, just to have a simple base. So that's how I got in, by how I planned this. And when it comes to the sculpting, I started with the portrait, like a portrait sculpt. Like I said, when it comes to portrait sculpting, what I do is I have two methods of sculpting faces. One is I would use a sphere, or whatever the shape that I can find in the ZBrush software itself, and by using clay build up and move brushes and build the face that you are trying to do. But here I saw this base mesh which was shared in the 3D scans too, and I wanted to try that one. And they have a lot of great textures and displacement maps, and I wanted to try out them, and find what are the things that I can use from their stores. So I used the base mesh, and one thing I did for the base is, I have these polygroups for, let me show. I have these basic polygroups done to the base mesh, because, and later on when you build up the shapes, this having separate groups, so these, eyelids and lips areas, it can be easier for you to, move things without disturbing the rest of the polygons which is around. So I have that done in my I have a better version now, but this is something I did for the base mesh. Yeah, and I don't want to go in depth in how to do a facial sculpt. It's a huge, vast area to cover. I don't think we have that much time. So I want to touch. I'm a very basic, basic things I use mainly when it comes to sculpting. I don't use a lot of technically savvy stuff. I'm just if someone asks what are the brushes that you use to sculpt, I just use move brush and move topology brush and clay beta brush. Those three are the main things that I use mainly when first what I would do is when I get to do a portrait, you want to get the silhouette properly. So for that I would use move topology or move brush and get uh, get the character as per the reference that you are using. For the references for the face, I have, let me see if I can get it. I reference this face, and there's another one I'll try to pull it out. So yeah, so that's how I approached on how to doing the portrait. And once I'm happy with the likeness, when I see a basic likeness is there on the sculpt, so what I do is I would have few subdivision levels for it to have support the later stages, when you need to give the skin details, and when you need to color. And even now here what I'm doing is I'm using 3D scans to texture maps. So you need to have a proper resolution to support that quality what they have in there. So this one, so I have like 5 subdivisions there, so it can properly have the all the details that they have in their maps. And another thing that like you see it now, the eyebrows in uh, their texture map doesn't match with the character that you are doing. Now here it doesn't match with the Superman's face. So what I do is I apply this into a, let me get to a duplicate. So I would go into polypaint and polypaint from texture. So now it has the 3D scans to texture applied on it. So now the eyebrows doesn't match with the Superman's face. So what I do is I have this custom brush I have done. I can't even remember where is it. Okay, this one. So I would paint it, with the kind of a low intensity. You guys can see it, right, Paul?
Yeah, we see everything. It's fine. Yeah, we see the custom. You got your own. So this is your own brush that you created.
Yeah, it's basically what I did was standard brush.
Yeah.
And spray, and having a alpha, like maybe alpha 23, and you can tweak it down. It's basically mimicking the real airbrush, what I feel, as you can do the placement change and scale changes like that. So you can create your own, because you can save time by doing that. So I would easily erase using a color. So now it doesn't have that texture on the map. So There's another brush I have for hair sculpting, which has smaller strands, and using that, what I would do is, kind of uh, put the eyebrows, so how it matches with your character you are doing. So that's how I, basically use these. And you like that, you can do any changes if there is any wrinkles that doesn't go with the character that you are doing. You can, color it down. And another thing that happens with when using these maps. Now when you apply the text, sorry, the displacement map, so it kind of it goes with the, the color map, with the eyebrows. So it gives the skin details of, it's different. So for that, even what I would do is, even another thing that I have to mention is that for portrait sculpts I use this great feature, layers, because here I have like 2 layers in it. But I think in my final piece I had more than 2 3 layers. I always like to have a base layer where I can go back and forth and do, changes whatever whenever I need. Because once you have once you work without the layers, what happens is, now let's say this sculpt, this doesn't have any layers, and let's say we have applied the, the skin details, and when you when you need to change any things in the shapes or the face, when you do any sculpts, it could, destroy the other things that you have done on the face. So it's very much, easier for you to have layers for each stage. Like I would love to use, a layer for facial hairs, a layer for skin details likewise. So that's basically how I would approach, doing the facial sculpt. And uh, I think that's pretty much I want to touch on the face, doing the portrait. And another thing that many ask how to do hair sculpting for 3D printing. And there are 2 methods of, doing hair sculpting. One, some people use insert mesh brushes and place it on the base sculpt that you have for the hair, and build upon that. But I like to sculpt the hair, rather than using the IMM brushes. I feel myself, I'm very much fond with doing the sculpting part. So what I would do is, let me grab the base.
And then you're prepping, you knew your end result for this was going to be a 3D print. So when you were doing the hair,
Yeah.
are you thinking about how deep you're going to start sculpting into the surface? Is that something you're first just going to lay out your hair and then worry about detailing a little bit more for printing purposes?
So what I would do first is, since the end result is 3D printing, I plan from the beginning way I want to, the print it. Because, when it comes to printing, and if you are doing molding, and the hair should not have these, areas where penetrate out from the surfaces, so the molding process could be hard. So like, if it, let's say this Superman curl, if it is done in a way, if it is uh, on the surface, hanging around like, then like this, so what you have to do is you have to make it a separate piece. So for the production department can mold it properly, otherwise you can't do it as one piece here. So like you asked, I would plan from the beginning since it's going for a 3D printing, uh, build it properly, for printing purposes. When I got my uh, first commission to do the sculpt, that those time I didn't know how to do a proper hair sculpt. This is something really must to learn. It's like in real life when we have a bad hair, so it's kind of a ruin the things, right? The same goes to the sculpt also. Some people have this amazing looking face sculpts, but sometimes they go wrong with the hairstyle, so it can ruin the final outlook, right? So for hair sculpting also, you have to do your referencing very properly, and you have to learn how the clumps work and how they look. And another thing that I do is I love to reference traditional sculptures, and they have these great ways of doing hair sculpting, and I've always tried to love to mimic the traditional way in the digital. So when I have this base done, this is basically using move brush and clay buildup. So once I have the proper base achieved, so what I would do is using clay buildup, and another again, what I would do is for the clay buildup is I would activate backface mask, and for the stroke I would go all the way to 10, the roll distance, and kind of starting. You have to uh, keep in mind how the clumps works, how the hair fall each on each other, like they do in even in CG, or you have to learn proper way of how the hair falls on each other.
Did you just start with a sphere for his hair?
Yeah,
You just started
yeah.
a sphere and started manipulating it in
Yes.
the first part. Yeah.
For every hair sculpt, what I do is I use the C sphere and do a dynamation, and start shrinking it to match the head that I'm doing, and using clay build up brush, and kind of do the main shapes. It's basically same. It just like the same as doing a face sculpt. You have to understand how the hair system works and how the forms work. And once I have, like I said, once I have the proper base silhouette, and what I do is using uh, clay build up. Again, I give the uh, small clumps, and once you are happy with the clumping, for here, what I would do is for the next stage, I'll have a high resolution.
Yeah, so you're just figuring out the main flow of the hair with the clay buildup, with the slight adjustments that you did.
Yeah. So after that, once I have this, you can use orb cracks and give it kind of a surface change again. Give it more detailing, and
yeah, so you're switching from additive and subtractive with or
yes,
brush.
yes.
Just refining that main flow of hair you've put in the
Yes,
back. Yeah.
yes. And after that, so now it has a when I feel that it has a good in a good enough secondary forms, what I do is I have this custom brush I have made. It's not a huge thing. It has just 3 strands, so I can detail it better, like this.
So this is a standard brush by default that you started with, and then you've applied the
Yes,
alpha.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So firstly, I didn't use many custom brushes, but I got in. I joined Chris Costa's uh, Fly on the Wall class.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there
his
he used so
workshops.
many. Yeah, I was able to get into the first class he did. So and there he used so many custom brushes. So that's why I wanted to try these.
Hmm.
Even so before that I didn't when I never used custom brushes. Why what I would do is I would manipulate the alphas that I have
Right.
already, and it kind of uh, kill your time. So it's great to have this.
Yeah, I think
uh,
learning custom brushes is a good thing. You'll learn more about
mm,
the settings and the systems, like what's in the stroke
yeah.
palette and
mm,
what's in the brush
mm,
palette. You'll learn more
mm.
about the application itself if you start making custom brushes. Are you sharing your custom brushes anywhere, or are you keeping them for yourself?
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Anyone can make these brushes, because there's another brush that I have used for here, the one I used to do the painting, and it has kind of small strands. Uh,
Yeah.
so when you want to do short hair, so the short haircuts, you can use this and give kind of a nice detailing, surface detailing, how short hair would do it. So now mainly I would use this for even for making the eyebrows. I would use this.
Have you found a very good Z intensity for the scale that you did your Superman for 3D printing for making sure
Uh,
the details come out?
Detail wise, that's another question many ask. If people can go and look into my Instagram, so there you can see it. Even though they are printed in very small scale, it has this great details level into it. So it's not only the printer that you are using to print; it's basically how you apply your textures onto the final piece. So let me see if I can show you my printing file, so you can get an idea.
Yeah, I'm pulling up your Instagram. I'll share it in chat so that they all have access to your Instagram as well. I've shared his Instagram in the chat for you all as well.
So, okay, this is the STL. Now, here you can see the details being exaggerated. And this is something you can, one thing I would suggest for artists to do is like have your own 3D printer. These days printers are getting very much, cheap. So it's easy for you, anyone to own one. So, because when you do a sculpture and when you do see it for yourself, that's only where you get how your sculpts look. Most of us, when I started, I didn't have the 3D printer, so I didn't know how my prints looks. When the producers say there are these issues in the sculpts, I didn't know how, I didn't understand what they're saying. But once you have the printer with you, and when they say the details is not enough, it's not visible. So because these will go into the production level, right? So it goes into the molding, and when it comes to rubber mold, where you can get like 10 to 20 pieces of copies with proper details, but the more you do, the details get distorted. So you need to kind of have a great exaggeration for your sculpts. What I would do is once I apply the texture that I use, I would uh, you know let me show. What I would do is mask it with cavity on, mask by cavity. So it gives you, it masks the cavities. So you can use the inflate feature, and kind of give exaggeration for the skin details that you have done. These skin textures, the displacement maps you find from these sources that you find, but they kind of look really good in the CG, yeah, when you show in a render, but when you just apply the textures itself, it doesn't look right for the sculpt when it's printed. So you have to exaggerate. I kind of like, I try to inflate it like 0.325, so that gives a good exaggeration level for the final print. Also, another thing that you can do is, once you inflate it and use an inflate balloon and give it another inflation, so it has this roundness for the details that you do. Or also, once you have done it, using the brushes again, you can detail. This is something that I found, the collectors, they are really like to see the details in a sculpt. Maybe it doesn't look right with the scale that the sculpt have done, but to having great details, get collectors, eye right away, because when you look at traditional sculpts, they also do this. That's what I'm trying to do, kind of give better detailed look in the final result. So even for the suit, I did the same. When I get into it, I'll explain that as well. Go into the body, okay?
Yeah, unless you want to show your other hair example too that you had.
Okay. I forgot.
Show your other hair example.
Yes. That's another thing that, I wanted to test this before the streaming, so I can share with the people. Uh, when you have to do afro hair, okay, what we normally do is uh, kind of use standard brush, and you can use spray and have a alpha again like this. Once you have the basic shape of the hair that you are doing, so you can give surface details like this, and that's what I was doing, and I think many of us do the same way. Right? I can feel that by looking at the sculptures that other artists do, but I wanted to change that. It doesn't look right for my eyes. Even if it is a afro hair that also has clumps and strands visible. So just giving surface details like this wouldn't work, I guess. So for that, I wanted to try out a new way. Uh, Let me share that.
Yeah, and then there's a link to his Instagram as well again. So actually the model he's going to share with you guys right now in this technique, he's got some images up there of the prints and his painting that he's doing on this model right now as well. He just wanted to share this technique.
Okay, this is the technique that I'm talking about. Now I feel this has a lot of hair details in it, and it has this good look for a afro hair. So here what I did was, same way I would use sphere, and it's not a big deal, but this is maybe it's time consuming, but I find it's really good for a final output. What I would do is using clay. Once I have the base done properly, what I would do is using the clay buildup and cue the small clumps where the afro hairs have. And once I have these clumps done, what I would do is using my custom brush. That's very easy for you all to make for yourself, or you, if you anyone wants, I can share. So slowly detail them again. Same like doing a long hairstyle, but it's tedious because it's too small. So that's how I approached on doing the afro hair. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, you're going old school way. Doing it by hand.
They're doing it
Show
by
the
hand.
show the final one again, just in case people. There are a couple
Another
people.
thing I couldn't mention. After doing that, I used that the brush that I used earlier, and kind of give
some texturing,
but with a low intensity maybe. So you can bump up the hair. So they have kind of surface difference in the hairstyle. So you can kind of give that. So that's how this turned out to this final detail.
How many hours do you think it took you to do his hair?
I think this took around 2 to 3 hours.
But that's a good point. You think about it. You are kicking out something that's awesome and beautiful, right? And style, it's got a great style. 2 and 3 hours to get something like that compared to just trying to find an alpha sometimes. Click and dragging isn't always the answer.
Yeah. Like I said, now when it comes to the collectibles, people love to see a lot of details in the sculpts, and you want to please them, right? If someone were going to have these pieces with them, so you need to give more time to it. This gives more love, so the collector that going to use this will feel it, right? It's not that some says there are a lot of people argue on what is the best method, whether they're doing a traditional sculpt or digital way, because some says digital is easy for us to do because it's not easy, but some says that, right? So I because that I want to show them that it's not an easy thing, but you can do amazing things by without using the easy ways, but giving so much love to it, because people says is traditional has so much loving to the skull. But here goes the same. We also do the same thing, because some traditional is something that I'm trying to learn. I want to go. I'm kind of going to backwards. I want to learn that area as well. So I'm at the moment I'm following that as well. So you kind of know everything when it comes to sculpting. So that's how I did the hair, and I find I feel I hope it will be helpful for people if they have any questions.
You're pretty much using like 3 brushes total to do your hair. You're using like a clay buildup. You're using or crack you used, right? And then you've got.
Do they need me to show something? No, like we're using a Z sphere now, and how to get the base shape, and do we have
if you want to show that really quick, absolutely. And you want to show how quickly you just kind of base it out to get your base hair mesh itself. I think this is a great topic for people that want to get into 3D printing as well, or want to be in the collectible world. Sculpting hair is a different animal for sure, and understanding that for the print. And I think what you're doing is fantastic. You're doing some experiments, doing different hairstyles.
Yeah.
And you like to use for your referencing, you like to use see-through, right? In ZBrush, you like to use your see-through.
Yes. See-through that thing now. Then again, people might find me that I'm crazy, because that's something I want to use very rarely, even to use the spotlight and
Yeah.
have the reference on the screen. But what I am trying to do is like a traditional sculptor. I want to train my eyes, by looking at the reference that I'm using, and eyeball it in a way that for me to feel, I try that, that way. Maybe people can laugh at me, while you have this uh, capabilities of using the digital tools, but we are trying the other way around. But I find myself, easy for, and it's easy when it comes to do a likeness. In and out of facial, the anatomy. So how you need to keep the distances. So eyeballing those, I mostly try to get my proportions done. But if I want, and when it comes to these can be done in your personal projects, but for company works, not it's not the same. So for that, I'd like to use see-through, and kind of have my reference in background. So quickly you can check your proportions there, right?
Yeah.
But to be honest, here I haven't used this feature. So this is base stage of my sculpt, so it has a lot of changes yet to do. I think a final sculpt had those changes done, but I wouldn't use it much. But this is a great feature, but which ZBrush gives you. You can have your references in background, and you can do the scaling. Yeah, that's a great feature.
Yeah. And then you
So
blocking out the hair.
yeah, so what I would do is I would append a C-sphere, and you can place it down, place it. So I'm on the wrong subtool.
Perfect.
Okay, there. That's it.
You're done.
There, I'm done. That's easy, right?
Yeah.
So first, what I would do is, using Symmetrion, I would, basically get the main silhouette done, main shapes.
Yeah. And is this a time to you're using see-through doing this too to kind of get a kind of gauge? Especially you're doing Alex Ross's Superman, so do you
Yeah.
use it during this process as well?
When doing the hair, you
Yeah,
mean?
just blocking out, getting the main simple block out of the hair.
Yes, I would use see-through, so you can, go and, kind of
The hairstyle that he's got. Yeah.
hairstyle,
Yeah.
you can place it there and, get things properly. So let's say I'm at a point where I'm happy with the base, then I would go into the another thing that I want to experiment in the time to come. That is something people ask, whether what's the camera angle that you use for 3D printing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I'm experimenting these days, because it actually depends on the final camera that guys use to take the picture. So depending on that, it could change the uh, perspective. But I want to try different camera angles. I mainly use 25 because that's why I'm mostly here, and I don't know why I'm using it, but sake of others are doing it, I also doing that. So, but I want to try this, changing this, and what how it works with the 3D printing part. You can when rendering, you can see how it works, right? But when it comes to 3D printing, you can't write, unless you do a few passes with different angles. So I think I want to do that, something that I'm trying to do, and I will share it in ZBrush, CBC, my results. So once I have this base done, so kind of give his hairline. I have to dynamize it.
Oh, Dinah. Okay. So you're just using some clay buildup to kind of just refine that shape.
Yes.
Build up the volumes, or build
Mhm.
down the volume, push in the volume.
And others use just IMM brushes, so they can do the clumps
Yeah.
easily. But I like to this is getting 3D printed in quarter scale, so I love to see. I haven't seen much of the sculpted hair on pieces. So most of them use the IMM brushes. They are great, but I want to see this way too. I would use IMM brushes for some kind of if it is a long hair, if there is any fringe hanging. So I would use that feature, but you know, regularly, mainly what I do is I want to you know uh, sculpt it. Maybe I want to pass time with more with my sculpts rather than going home.
Yeah.
My, my wife is watching now, and she's
Yeah.
pulling me out.
Yeah. You might want to be careful.
So I can stay at office more and more. So like you can see now, I
Yeah.
don't use much of resolution here. When you have a lot of resolution, it's it's really hard. Like they say, bigger things and smaller things. There are bigger details in the small details in a high resolution, and the bigger changes in the low resolution, like the smaller changes. Likewise, I don't know if you get that what I told. So anyway, here, but I'm using the low resolution mesh, and after that, I would go into a high resolution. Again, give the details.
Do you ZRemesh at any time, or you just keep it in Dynamesh?
For hair, I don't use Siri mesh much.
Okay, so you just keep it in Dynamesh. Yeah.
I just use the Dynamesh because this doesn't need good topology, right?
Yeah.
Because it need only the. There are sometimes, where you find bad topologies where you can't do some proper clumping. So
Mm-hmm.
by then I would use uh, the Siri measure, but uh, no, mostly I won't use because haven't got into such situations. So like that, uh, again, I would build up the main forms, and again, I would go for another. Maybe I would go into a subdue, and again put details. Likewise, you have to go into 2-3 passes while adding these clumps, and once you are happy, and when you see yourself, it has the uh, proper look, so you
Yep.
can go into the final detailing. So
Right.
that is something we mostly go wrong. We start to detail before getting the main shapes properly. So that's where so we all I also had those days, those times where I love to do details, but it wouldn't look proper, wouldn't look right if you don't have the surface forms correctly. Even for the hair that I showed, the afro hair doesn't have this, surface very smooth. There are bumps, so you have to have those shapes first before going into the final detail.
Den 101 wants to know, how long did you spend on this whole project of the Superman, do you think?
This is, I think, 3 months, because for personal projects you don't have much time, right?
Mhm.
Even though when you get time, you have to, work on the deadlines. And one good thing is when you get into collectibles, and when you get likeness sculpts, when you are asked to do them, companies doesn't push you, because likeness sculpting is something that is very hard, right? Because we are just using internet references that we have and trying to bring the character out of it. So uh, companies doesn't push you much that, but you have to spend more time on their works. So here, yeah, for the whole thing, for the printing and painting and everything, it took around 3 months. Yes.
Okay. We're coming up on an hour. I know you want to show some suit stuff as well.
Okay. Oh, we went 1 hour already.
Yeah, we're at 1 hour. I told you it goes fast.
And I was like, bro, I was nervous.
Yeah, I know. I told you
I
it's
didn't
not
know
hard to
that
fill
I
up
would
an
do
hour. It's
this
pretty
much.
easy.
Yeah, that's the thing. I hope everyone is enjoying that, right?
Yeah. Everyone's having enjoying and loving the work that you've been showing too. And again, we're gonna show some images. He's gonna show some images too of some final pieces so you guys can see.
Okay. Like I said in the beginning, so I had this, planning of doing the head first, head separate, and body separate. So for the body, that is something I don't like to use base measures, because like I said, I don't have a lot of experience on doing statues. So far I have done like 5 to 6 statues for the companies. So I will always love to do full bodies from scratch. So for that, what I do is I use C sphere and start building on that building. So this is the base I had saved with me. The body was done using C sphere. And another thing that I want to mention now, when it comes to sculpting bodies, you need to have a proper knowledge on anatomy. And it's not that you have to learn every muscle or the terms that they have. My brother is a he does sports medicine, so he's my guru for the muscles, and he teaches all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I find myself very easy to very lucky to have him. Also, for the artistic side, I followed a course from Scott Ayton, and I followed his anatomy course.
Yeah, he's got a great
And
course. Yeah.
yeah, so you have to, so kind of learn. And this is something, why Alex Ross is very much famous, because for me he's like modern day Michelangelo, because the realism he has on his works, amazing. So and the superheroes, they are very real for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so uh, anatomy is something that it's something I did the same mistake back then. It's not something that you sculpt what you see. This is something Scott Ayton also saying. It's not something sculpting is not something you see, but it's something you have to do by your knowledge. When you open up the reference that you have, now he has these shadows on the cheeks, right? So you should understand why that shadows are happening. So there's some anatomical input to that. So why these shadows is used on the biceps, and so knowing the anatomy, it's a great tool.
So
Which
besides your brother, what are you using for anatomy references for yourself? You have a
my
go-to?
brother is my brother is main source,
Yep.
and I wanted to refine my skills with following Scott's, because it's not learning the medical way. My brother would kill me if he listen to this. But uh, you don't need to learn what's
No.
going inside the body, just the surface details, right?
Yep.
Once I told him about something, I can't remember. I'll tell you if I it remembers me. Anyway, I for anatomy, what I do is I do the referencing mainly with him, and other than that, now the muscles of the body kind of implanted in my brain, so you can do work easily. So this is how I approach to the body using the C sphere. And once I'm happy with the base, what I would do is, now this is a dynamist version, and I would have a duplicate from this tool. And what I would do is I would do a, series measure and going to a low subdivision level. Why I want to do this is because I want to apply suit textures, right? So for that I want to have a proper somewhat good, since it's a basic pose, it's just a pose, so it doesn't have so many dynamics going on. So what I would do is using this amazing feature you all have in ZBrush, UV master, and quickly do a unwrapping, and use now, since I have the uh, UV wrapped, and what I would do is I would project the details from from my main tool using project all, and go into the higher divisions. And this is also something you have to do from you know uh, start from the low subdivision level and go into the higher subdivisions. Otherwise, your PC might get stuck. So I would, stage by stage, I would apply the details to the sculpt, the duplicate version I have, kind of project the details. Also, I need to tell that you all put out a lot of features, new features, but I'm a person who's stuck in stuck in using same things, and I have a lot of great friends. When I get questions, I send a message through Facebook, and asking how to do this, so they help me a lot. So like that, once I have the details on my this is not a proper way of doing it. I didn't do it properly. So once I'm happy with it, and now I have the UVs also. So what I would do is go to the feature surface, and this noise 7. I like to use that for the suits, and go to edit and apply UV.
Oh, the canvas
And
one. Yeah.
so change the parameters according to your liking, and get the details that you want in this suit. And then what I would do is okay, I think that's okay. and apply. When applying, you need to have a proper resolution for the subtool to get all the details. Though this doesn't have that. And another thing I want to mention now, when you have this applied on the sculpt, when you do a dynamesh, sometimes it destroy the details. Now see, now it kind of destroyed the details that I've put. So for that, what I would love to do is for the suit, whatever whenever I have subtools with textures on it, like suit details. So what I would do is I use Boolean option, and I don't use Dynamesh for that. I would use the Boolean option, so it doesn't destroy the details. Sorry for that. So that's how I approach to the body, and that's it. So for the boots, also I did the same. I'd mask a portion from the legs, and I would extract that. I would extract that and get in my base, and I would build upon that.
So someone was asking, you mentioned that you're using live booleans to preserve the details. They want to know, can you show that? What are you doing with live booleans to do that?
Yeah, right.
And then to the last part, he just used surface noise to apply the details. So if you say texture, I don't know if you mean color texture or if you're talking about sculpting texture, because it was a sculpting texture.
Sculpting textures.
Yeah, because he's going to 3D print this, so he needs the details to be physically on the model.
I think I have something here which I can show. Okay, let me grab the file which I have the final details. And that's not the final one, but I think.
Yeah, Den, that's when you say texture is a tough one because as a sculptor, sculptors will understand texture as like a texturing sculptural surface, but then you're in the 3D world, and a lot of 3D people understand texture as like a color
colors, right?
Color map texture. So whenever you're going to talk about stuff like, just make sure when you're talking with somebody, you're clarifying with them about, do you mean texture sculptural or paint, in essence, color texture?
Yeah, what I mainly use textures as details, the skin details or the suit details, not the color, just the surface details. So now this one I have here, the body.
Yeah.
So it has these layers. Let's say it's it has 4 layers. With the picker, I can get the surface resolution.
Yeah.
So when I dynamesh it, so now this has surface details built into the sculpt. Now it has this flow, right? It has this flow of the cloth. But when you do the dynamesh,
and you pick the resolution based upon the details.
Based upon the details, yes.
Yeah. You might want to turn off the poly paint when it's done so they can also see it. It's tough to see with the poly paint.
My pacing. Is it crying?
She's not having fun. Dynamesh.
Okay, it has too much.
Oh, Dyna. Well, this one
I guess.
is originally what, 42 million? Is that, am I reading that right?
Yeah, that's 42 million.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to have good details on this
Yeah.
surface.
And total,
I
what
think
is it? 60? Is it 66 total across all the subtools, or 60?
Yes, 66.
66. Yeah, my monitors, because I'm not looking at this full screen because I have to watch the chat. Doesn't give me.
While this is doing the Dynamesh thing, I'll cover something else also. For rendering, what I did here was, this is a tip I learned from Gurjit Singh. He taught me that to use FBX files, export FBX the tools. So right that way, like you can use in the Maya, the software, you can apply the same color textures in the Maya, and we do the nodes there and get quick color renders using just the same, without doing UV mapping and everything. You just do a proper Dynamesh and decimate the file to get it low resolution.
Yeah, because the FBX is baking it has vertex color information, and Maya can actually look at vertex color information as well.
Yes. I close this. I think it takes too much time.
Well, you're also streaming right now, so your resources are also being pulled from the stream.
So when I do the Dynamesh, so it kind of destroying the surface details. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So that's why I use the Boolean method to get my final pieces done.
Yeah, I don't myself personally, I don't even use Dynamesh anymore at all to prep stuff for 3D printing. It's all live Booleans, because you don't have to worry about that resolution, finding the right resolution that works for you, and losing the details.
I've been using the Dynamesh for until last year.
Yeah.
One of my friends, Sean Debs, only taught me that you have to use live Booleans because it saves your details properly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like I told you, I just use the basic stuff. When you look at my, interface, even it's just a default ZBrush interface I have. For now 6 years I've been using ZBrush, but I'm really happy with this. And some features I don't use much, but though I'm slow, but I'm getting to them as well. Later on, I will find them.
Well, that just goes to show, sometimes a lot of people get nervous about how I'm trying to learn everything, and it's you don't need to. Take a little bit at a time, and you're a great example of just the talent coming through, and then your artwork coming through, right? So, okay, we got your screen back up. I was waiting for you to load everything so they can see your ZBrush again.
Okay, so I think I can't show the Dynamesh part because it stuck the PC. It's too much to PC to handle. So I want to touch on the how to key the pieces for the 3D printing. This is another thing that okay, here I can show you something. Now this is if you can see the emblem with a symbol, Superman symbol, it has all the details lost in it, because this is what happened when I did the Dynamesh. It kind of destroyed the surface details that I had done, the symbol. So for that, what I did was, got my symbol separate and applied the details, and using decimation master, I got a low resolution version of it and used the live Boolean to kind of merge into the body. So now for keying, now I have this full piece with me. I would go into each piece and kind of start dynamishing and getting the proper make them to watertight. And once I have those pieces done, what I would do is I would get a pinned cube, and using deformation and taper, I would get my key from that and use this for all the keying. You can scale it down and scale up. And another thing that you have to keep in mind is when you do the keying and when you print stuff, sometime you will feel that these things has to be fit together very nicely, and it has to, right? If you have put it in the printer, you feel that everything has to come the way that we have put, but there is a toleration when it comes to 3D printing, so it kind of doesn't match the pieces that you do. So what you have to do is I would do is have a duplicate tool from that, and once I have a proper scaling and having the transparent tone, I would have a kind of uh, I would scale it down for like having 1.2 millimeters or something, depending on the scale that you're going to prepare printing. So I would have one smaller and one bigger. And from the big one, what I would do is I would hollow the piece that I want to uh, have the key. And the small one, what I would do is, now in this case, what I would do is use the smaller piece up attached to the torso. So once it's printed, you can easily put together. I'll show you it in piece here now. uh, if you have the same size of the keys used, you can't you can't put in together. So you have to have that the scaling differentiation in between both pieces for you to put the keys the pieces back together. You
Your
can see, right?
webcam's full screen, Waruna, if you want to show it up on your webcam too. So I put it full screen. There you go.
Can see it?
Yep.
Yep. Now, if you have done this keying and same size, you can't put it back together, because the printing has a toleration where if it doesn't tally with the files that you put. So for that, you have to have one smaller. For this, I would have the key on the body smaller and slight bigger one on the pants, so it fits well. So that's why this is kind of something that comes to me came to me, like I have seen people saying that, but until I do it, I didn't know what's exactly what's the meaning of that. But once I did it, I learned, okay, you have to scale the keys.
Did you find, how are you finding what size to make the bigger one and smaller? What are you're just using an inflate? And
I just using transparent on, I would scale it down.
So you're just eyeballing it. You're eyeballing it.
No,
No.
with once you have the correct scale, once you scale it, scale the sculpt in the proper scale that you are going to print, and using transpose line, you can kind of check the point to point distance. So with that way, you can calculate what's the difference. I normally use like 0.2 toleration amount, so it works well. So this is something that
0.2 in millimeters. In millimeters, 0.2.
Yeah, 0.2 millimeters will work. That's how we do
in the top
keying.
left corner. In the top left corner, it actually gives the size.
Yeah, actually, what you have to do is you want to keep a point where you want to scale, check the measurement, and bring it to the other point, and it shows right there. Because here, once you have scaled down the, once you have done the units properly, so it will show the correct distance.
And are you using Scale Master to set your world scale so for the size? Is that what you're doing?
I like to use here. I don't use ZBrush for the scaling
Yep.
because I like to use Mesh Mix. That's also a very basic software.
Yep.
I point to point difference I like to get from that because I find it a lot accurate, and because I haven't tried much in ZBrush because back in the day it was really hard, but now I think I've seen some tutorials on how to use the Scale Master, and I'm going to try that as well in the future because at the moment I don't use that. So like that, I did. Do you want me to show each piece with keys?
Yeah, we're at an hour and 20 minutes, so you still got some time if you want it.
Wow. I think I covered most of it, and but if there is any questions to ask, I can go with.
Yeah, I was throwing them as we were going, so we're up to date, kind of. So you had talked about using live booleans to keep the details. So what he was just doing there is an example. So instead of trying to Dynamesh out for the keying, he's using live booleans, and so he doesn't have to worry about resolutions of the Dynamesh. He's just plopping in what he wants to use for keying, and then that's it. He doesn't have to worry that, hey, am I going to have enough resolution on Dynamesh to actually capture all of this? That's the beauty.
Okay, Paul. Another thing. Now, when you make these, pieces for printing, now you can actually use Boolean to check the wall thickness. That's something I do. Kind of you can get a cube.
Yep.
And use booleans.
Your boot's off. You got to have your boot on.
Sorry?
Your boot's
okay.
off.
Okay. I'm on the wrong subtool. Okay. Now this is something I want to show with you all. This has a weak walls. Now this is something is not good for the printing. But this is not thick enough. When you see, this is something you can see from the slicer 3D printing software, but rather than going there, you can see it from the ZBrush itself.
Yeah,
it kind of
I do the exact same thing. I take a cube. So what are you using as your tolerance? What are you finding for your wall thickness tolerance? What are you usually trying to stay around in millimeters?
I like to stay around 2 millimeters is my max what I would go, because when it comes to printing, there is you have to think about the build plate thickness and the FEP that you use, the tightness of those. So thinking of those, I always like to keep in use mainly 2 millimeter thickness for the wall, but if I'm to do some productions like the custom pieces that I do for the heads, I print them solid. I don't have any holes in them. I like to I don't go into hollowing the pieces. I just print them solid.
Yeah, and I see if you flip your boot upside down, I see you're doing drain holes on the bottom.
Yeah.
You might want to touch that so people understand why you have a hole in the bottom of his foot.
That's another thing. That's for printing purpose, right? When you print and something that, since it has a hollow inside, and what could happen is when the print finishes, the resin might stuck inside. Okay, and though it has a hollow piece, you need to get the the extra resin that stuck inside, and you have to clean inside properly. For that, you have to have a drain hole, so yeah, you can get things out and clean it properly. And if you are not doing the cleaning properly, if you have missed cleaning inside, you will have cracks. This happens. uh, you might have a good print result with you when you ship the things out, and with the temperature changes, the inside uncured resin could harm the print. So this drain hole is a must if you are doing a hollowed piece, so you can clean inside properly.
Yeah, that and the resin's liquid gold, right? Save as much money as you can. Get that resin out.
Yes, that's another thing. What I like mainly doing the drain holes is because I need to clean the inside properly,
Yeah.
because I don't want clients to be unhappy having bad product with them.
Yeah.
So that's it. If there is any questions for me to cover, I'd like to do so. And this is pretty much my process. Like I said, I would when I get into a project, I would do referencing thoroughly. That's something very heavily I do, because like a method actor, I want to get into the character. Sometimes it's crazy, and even my wife would scold at me, because I kind of even in my office I stay alone, so I don't talk with much with people. So I like these sessions also, so where you can talk a lot. So and yeah, I would do referencing a lot, and then part it in a way where I can complete the full statue easily, and work on like that.
Do you have? Why don't you pull up your Instagram so people can see also the paint, because you're hand painting everything too that you're printing out.
Okay.
Do you have some images you want to? I already shared the Instagram. I'll share it again. I also shared Scott Eaton's webpage since you brought him up, and also another great resource for anatomy tools is another great resource to learn. Here, I just put the Instagram in of his again. But he's hand painting this stuff too.
Okay, now I didn't know how to paint, like I didn't know how to sculpt. This is also something new I learned. This is I learned from the artist, Jacob Raimir, one of the great painters in the hobby. He does amazing stuff for custom jobs, or even for he works with companies too. So I followed his Patreon and learned how to paint this. But um, I got so many tips on how to use airbrush and stuff. But what I do mainly is I got the tips from him, but I kind of go in a way where how the silicon bus painted, like you go in layers by
Mm-hmm.
layers applying.
Mm-hmm.
I also do the same. Like my sculpts printed in. Some can say it's flesh color, but for me it's more of a skull tone. And when you build the skin layers upon this uh, skull, so you can get I find myself easy to get into the skin tone that I'm going for. Like you can mimic the skin layers, like giving a red color tone for the flesh, blood, and have blue wash for the veins, and then have a yellow wash for the fats on the face. So by doing them like silicon bust paint, I tried that method for mostly my paints. And for Superman also I did the same thing. I have few videos in my YouTube channel where have this is hand painted. Like this here, I haven't used the airbrush. This is mainly the washes that I've done. no airbrush in used. I used the airbrush for freckles. Other than that, I haven't touched the airbrush for paint in this piece. Same goes to other sculpts as well. Only for freckling, I would use the airbrush. Other than the rest of the things that I do hand paints.
There's an example of the hair printout too. They make that one bigger, yeah, so they can see that.
This is before the final work. This is how I started doing it, and I wanted to put the chunks and check the final print, and I found myself that it can have more details to that. So this is the one that I showed in the PC, the ZBrush. This is how it turned out. I think it's okay. It shows better Afro hairstyle.
I think it turned out great. And he shares all this too on his ZBrushCentral, which we just shared again.
Like I told you, I became an artist because of ZBrush, and I started my career because of ZBrush, and because of ZBrush forum, I got my first job. So I always find time to share with you all whatever I do. And sometimes, people say you shouldn't share your work in progress, but I love to share the work in progress. So people see how we do things and how these things get made. And, people love to see that. And, maybe it can, it could be an inspiration for someone else who's trying to start things up. So I love to share everything what I do. And
what kind of paint are you using? Are you using model paint? Or are you using acrylics?
I use acrylics, and yes, mainly acrylics, and I have some lacquers as well, but I like to use acrylics mainly.
Yeah.
And another thing that people ask is how the sheen look I have in this final paints.
Yeah.
I use clear spray, so it gives kind of a specular to the skin, like we do in the 3D rendering.
Yeah, so it's not just a dull.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, man. That's it. Anything else?
One other question came through, but I don't know if you have any files to really show this person. Could you show how you build eyes? So just clarifying, do you mean sculpturally or do you mean painting wise, how he builds eyes, like color wise or sculpting wise?
I think for sculpting wise, what I would do is just grab a C sphere. Okay, here. This has this weird, the ring. What I wanted to try is that this TikTokers has this ring light, right? So it looks really beautiful in some cases. And so that's what I wanted to try, but it didn't match the project that I'm doing. So just that's a stupid thing to try out. But I wanted to try it anyway.
Yeah. Well, you do see a lot of those ring lights and a lot of stuff. So yeah. So that's painted. More that eye part. Yeah. Those are all paint. You've got a sphere. You've got a sphere there, and you're painting it. Yeah.
I'll show quickly. What you can do is you can mask using a mask perfect circle. And you can get your iris. And this doesn't have much resolution. And kind of blur it down. And using RGB on You just cue the black color and you can just start coloring the way you want your iris colors to be. Sometimes you need, like painting, you need to give some
Highlights.
highlights and shadows. Even for pupil, you can use the same feature. These are just basic stuff, where everyone can do it. It's just not amazing. And you can detail on that. So that's a quick way to do eyes. Another thing that you can do is you can find a texture from, a color texture from internet, and maybe yeah, you can find from the internet and take it into the spotlight, and you can poly paint using that.
Yep.
That's another way you can do eyes.
Yep.
But
You can use it to sculpt.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I just think we got all the questions answered. This has been a lot of fun. Waruna, I really, again, thank you for doing this stream with us. This is another ZBrushCentral image breakdown.
Yeah, thanks again. I want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
You made an artist here. Because of y'all, I'm here again. I have to thank y'all for giving this opportunity again, again. For anyone who's out there who want to be doing this, you just start doing this and start putting things out. One thing I would love to tell finally, inspire from others and compete yourself. Try to kick yesterday's as of yours, and get into the game and it's inspire from others. That's the main thing that you can do. Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, I think also, a lot of this is for us is trying to show artists like yourself and what you're doing in ZBrush. That's the point of these streams as well, sharing. And I think you made a good point. Sharing is great, being able to share. I myself, learned ZBrush by myself. And one of the ways I learning ZBrush was on ZBrushCentral.com, right? And getting on there, seeing what people were doing, having conversations with people. So this is kind of what we're trying to do with these streams with everybody. And I can't thank you enough for Waruna for being a part of this series. And again, for everybody, this is only the second one that we've done. So we're going to continue doing these. We've got a heavy schedule coming, and there's going to be some months where we've got one of these every single Tuesday. So again, we're going to be doing these on Tuesday. I'm going to show my screen real quick again so you guys can see where you get this information so that you don't miss out on great streams like this and be a part of it. So let me throw that up real quick. So if you go to ZBrush, if you go to ZBrushLIVE.com, you can just put that in Google and you'll find it if you want, or pixelogic.com/ZBrushLIVE. Here's your calendar. Okay, you can look at them in an agenda or in a calendar form, and you can see the next one already coming up here is Alexander Lee. So that's going to be April 12th. The times will be different because everyone's from different places around the world, like Waruna, right? I'm in LA and he's in Sri Lanka. We're not exactly in the same time zone right now. So they're going to be different times. So please make sure you're paying attention to that. So Alex does some amazing different stuff with ZBrush where he's literally using ZBrush to kind of create like animations. It's really cool. So these are also the point of these streams and showing you all different ways artists can use ZBrush. Okay, so I will put this in the chat again so you have that and aware of that, because if you are enjoying this one, right, continue, please come by all the other ones and support those artists and check out what they're doing as well. They're a lot of fun. We've already done two, and I myself have just enjoyed getting to talk to the artists and doing these streams with you all. So thanks again, Waruna. This has been really great. I really appreciate you taking time out of your evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and I'm Paul Gaboury with another episode of ZBrushCentral Image Breakdown on ZBrush Live, and hopefully we'll see you guys at more streams. Bye, everybody.